episode of the Power of United Impact podcast. I'm Michelle Tucker, President and CEO here at United Way of Greater St. Louis, and I am sitting here with a favorite person of mine, Dawn Van Houten, who is the Chief Executive Officer over at Duo Dogs, Inc. Dawn, welcome.
Thank you so much for the invitation to be here. I'm so excited to visit with you.
I'm excited to have you here, and I should be saying welcome back because you were a member of our United Way team back during, it was right after COVID hit.
It was actually right before COVID.
Was it? Okay,
Yes.
okay. I just remember the campaign after COVID hit, and so some of the things we had to step forward to do, it was a very difficult time for the community.
It really was, and it was such an incredible team to work with, to see how everybody did step up. It was scary, to figure out how are we going to do this campaign when we can't even be on site for these events.
Yeah.
It was, and I think we learned a lot from it too.
And you're so right. So much uncertainty. And I think that's what made it scary. Mm-hmm. Before we move ahead, I want to remind people that they can catch our podcast on any place that they like to watch their favorite podcasts or listen. And so they can also check us out on, if it's YouTube or Facebook, please follow us on all social channels because we've got some good information about the nonprofit agencies that we work very closely with. But Dawn, we were just talking about, you working at United Way during a time where we were right before and then in the aftermath of COVID. And so what I wanted to say about that is the community really stepped up, and it was a time where we didn't know what we didn't know, right? And we were very afraid that, offering campaign at the time, we didn't know how people would react to that, but people started calling us and reaching out, and they said, oh, you have to offer campaign because, more than ever, we are going to need to make sure there is the safety and the safety net and resilience restored to the safety net and make sure that needs were being met. So I thank you for your leadership during that time as a part of the team. And so again, welcome back.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about Dawn? Maybe what brought you to Duo Dogs? And, I know you've had such a great career in the nonprofit sector. But why Duo Dogs?
So it's interesting where life takes you, from one chapter to another. And my career started a little bit similar to yours in the banking industry.
I remember, yes.
And I remember even hearing a thought leadership presentation you did when you worked for Bank of America.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, she's got some really good ideas there. Yeah. And so when you moved into the nonprofit sector, it just so happened I did not too long after that. Mm-hmm. And, it was a really interesting way to see what happens in our community. So at the bank, I held the charitable contribution budget.
Okay.
So I got to work with all of the nonprofits in St. Louis. So when it came time to think about, okay, how do I really want to spend my time, looking at the nonprofit world made sense to me.
You had a very similar past.
Very similar. And I'm glad I had that because you can bring that corporate perspective to this work in the nonprofit area. So I've had the privilege of working in healthcare nonprofit.
Yes, I remember I met you when you were at SSM.
Yes. So it was a major gift
officer. We had crossed paths before then, but we really connected when you were there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so the opportunity here at the United Way is an incredible one. It's one of the best in the region, in the country. I mean, gosh, you're number one, aren't you, in the country?
We are. It's because of the community and the support that we get and us really working together to make a difference across the community. And so, it takes all of us.
It matters. It so matters. And when I think about, what you do in pulling the organizations together for common situations in the community, how meaningful and how powerful that is. And so it was a kind of a tough time for me right after COVID and coming off of the campaign that, that was, it was really challenging, but very successful campaign during COVID. And I had some things happen with my family that I still kind of struggle with today. And I know they wouldn't mind me sharing, but my father was diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Oh, gosh.
And so, you don't know what you're getting into.
Yeah, I remember something.
And just really struggling to, how much time am I going to have to really focus on work? How much time am I going to have to focus on family? And they're not local. So trying to handle that, both ways. So So I did, I made a decision to move to Duo Dogs at the time. They were looking for a leader, and I love dogs.
Oh, I know. I know. You had just gotten a new dog.
He was with me through COVID.
Okay.
His name's Clarence.
Yes, I remember Clarence.
He was on every call. People would ask me if they didn't see him sitting there, they would ask me about him. But, he did provide some support in my life, believe it or not, just during that time. But in our work at Duo Dogs, we do help people who have mobility issues. We have clients who have Parkinson's, so we have clients who have other neurological situations that really can limit them as far as what they can do. And so I felt really close to that.
Yes.
Going into that work. And so it's a much smaller organization than the United Way. But boy, I've learned so much from the nonprofit work that I've done, even before the United Way and at the United Way, and apply that to this smaller organization and what I'm doing now. So I'm just really pleased that I get to work with you in this way, and I get to work with the team at the United Way, and just know that any of those kickoffs or anything that you need for us to do, we'll be there for you.
Hey, you have been. And so Dawn was a part of our development team. She was actually our chief development officer at the time. And when you made the decision, I knew that it was a very personal one and one that you needed to make. And I thought you were very brave to make the decision that you did. And I'm so happy you had the opportunity to connect closer with your family. And you talked a lot with me about the support that an organization like Duo Dogs could provide to, your dad and others that were in a similar situation. So I always admired that about you and knew that Duo Dogs would be in good hands if you were going to take over. So I thank you for what you're out there doing.
I appreciate that. It was tough.
Oh, I knew that it was as we were talking through it, and I'm just happy that you had the opportunity to make a decision like that and could just move forward and support your parents. I knew you were going to be on the road a lot, just back and forth, that you weren't able to sort of continue with us, but you're in the best seat, it sounds like. You're living into your passion and you're able to support family. Tell us more about Duo Dogs.
So we continue to learn more and more the value that a working dog can provide in your life. And so at Duo Dogs, and gosh, Michelle, I didn't really know that much about dogs before I went there other than my own.
So Clarence.
And Clarence, yes. And so, 4 years later, to think about what I know now about this industry is really incredible. So at Duo, so it's interesting. So Duo Dogs in our title, but I always tell people we're really not about dogs. Mm-hmm. We are about building that extraordinary bond between people and dogs that can really improve someone's life. And so that's our end game, is how are we going to improve someone else's life?
Why?
And so for us, we do that in two ways. So one is our service dog program, assistance dog program. So service dog and assistance dog are interchangeable. Okay. Assistance is kind of the newer terminology for that. But we breed and raise and train our own assistance dogs. And so we help people with mobility challenges. We help veterans with PTSD. We help people who are hard of hearing or deaf, who need a dog to alert them to different sounds, in the house. And then we place facility dogs and full-time working dogs in a hospital or a school or a courthouse or a child advocacy center. So the interesting thing about these dogs is they are full-time working dogs. So from the moment they're born, we are preparing them to be the best they can be in someone's life to do a job. And so that's why I didn't bring my Duo dog with me today, because she's our ambassador dog for Duo. And so she attends a lot of meetings with me, but she also likes to work. And so for me to sit here, she probably would get bored because I wouldn't be giving her something to do. So the assistance dog program is one. And then the other is the Duo Touch Therapy program. And this has really taken off, especially after COVID. So this is volunteer driven. Yes. So this is where volunteers come to Duo with their own personal dog, and they are trained to be a Duo Touch Therapy team. And so it's pretty neat because people who have great dogs, well, all dogs are great, of course, but people who want to share the love of their dog with the world can do this. It's a 16-week certification, a lot of evaluations, because not every dog is meant to be a touch therapy dog. And so once they're certified, then they have access to 150 sites in St. Louis that duo touch therapy dogs visit. And so we look to who else is in the safety net, at the end of the way. How are we touching those organizations with our duo touch therapy dogs? And so there's about 300 of those out there working today. And they are, gosh, I mean, the impact that stories that we get from them are really incredible. So, for example, a duo touch therapy dog in a hospital can help a family that's waiting for news, can help a child that is anxious. And then they touch therapy dogs in schools. I mean, they help with anxiety. They help kids read. So there's a lot of newer applications that we're finding that we can do with these.
Well, thanks for sharing that because, I started to learn more and more about the different types of therapies and approaches when you started working there, because you started talking to me about just the different ways that a dog can provide sort of that comfort and stability and help you through very tough times.
They're not judgmental. I mean, they of course, I mean, okay. You can say, whatever you need to them, but they do have a purpose. Yes. So whether that's to provide stability, so back to the service dogs, for somebody who has a mobility issue and they need to reach things on the floor, maybe they don't have a caregiver nearby. So this morning I was just meeting with a potential client in a wheelchair, and he just really needs help, picking up things off the floor when the caregivers are not around. And so we took a dog in there to see what that might look like. So that provides independence and confidence, for that individual. That I don't have to have somebody with me 100% of the time if they need to be in the next room, or those dogs turn the lights on and off. So if the caregiver goes home at night, the dog can turn the lights on and off. And so that, again, stability, independence, is another thing. And for the PTSD clients, it is that sense of calmness and serenity that their PTSD dog can provide for them. So a lot of our PTSD clients experience anxiety, and they'll start to maybe tremor or tap their feet, or some of them, they do have physical reactions when they're experiencing anxiety. And so we'll train our dog to notice that. And when they see it, they'll go up to our client and say, hey, wait a minute, let me put my head in your lap. I can tell something's going on. How can I help you relax? If they have bad dreams at night or night terrors, our dog will wake them up at night and say, hey, it's okay, I'm here. So there is that sense of completeness that a service dog, can provide.
Well, I'm glad that you're sharing all of these examples, because it's helping to unlock understanding for people who just don't know, right? They might have questions around, what is a therapy dog? What does the dog do? What is it able to do? But everything you're describing, it's just having a companion, someone who's a helping hand. I think that many people can relate to what you're describing. So thank you for that. Let me ask you a question. I know that you fell in love with Clarence from day one, but how many dogs have you fallen in love with?
Oh,
too many to count.
Can I even tell you? I mean, and then of course our puppies are born on site.
Oh, wow.
So I get to see the little puppies. And when they get to be about 5 weeks old, we'll take them outside for the first time. And so we have to carry them. And so we have an all hands on deck call. Okay, it's time for puppies to go outside. So all the team members come back to the whelping area where the puppies are, and we carry them out one at a time. And so I picked up this puppy, and I think, gosh, what was his name? It was, oh my gosh, what was his name? I can picture him. Francis.
Okay.
So I picked him up, and he looked at me. And I don't know what it was about the way he looked at me that day, with just the most complete confidence and I love you. I can't even describe this look. And I fell in love with him that day, just picked him up and carried him outside. And so, but honestly, that happens, a lot throughout the day. But it's interesting because people say, well, gosh, Dawn, if you're having, a challenging day, you can just go see the dogs, and you can. And so, and we do that. Team members, we have moments where we'll just go sit with the dogs.
Yes.
But for me, really, when I'm feeling anxiety or I just kind of want a break, I'll go talk to team members. And so I'll say, okay, so how are you doing with Francis right now? How's he coming along with his training? How is touch therapy coming along with the newest class? And so to hear them talk about what they're accomplishing, to me, is just really rewarding too. So it's a double double whammy. You might say duo,
Yes.
person and the dog.
Okay.
That makes it meaningful.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the past year, you all revised your mission statement, and it's to include like positive mental health and physical well-being. Can you tell us more about why that change and more about the strategy forward?
So we really needed to take a broader look at our programs because I think Duo they kind of looked at their touch therapy program on one side and their assistance dog program on the other side. And I looked at it and said, well, wait a minute, how are these working together to accomplish some of the same things? And so we really wanted to look at the impact that we're making with our facility dogs and our touch therapy dogs. So, for example, we could have our touch therapy dogs visiting in a hospital, but we also have a full-time facility dog working there at the same time.
Okay.
So these programs are working hand in hand. And so, but today especially, there is a lot of focus on mental health. And we all understand, we've got to take care of our mental health.
There's a whole lot going on right now. Yes, you are correct.
And so when I look at the impact of what the dogs are doing out there, there is certainly a mental health component to that. So our surveys are telling us that after a Duo dog visit, that anxiety goes down, overall sense of well-being goes up, heart rate can go down, blood pressure can go down. And so we're even having different organizations come to us that want to study the work that we're doing to really see the effects on how this works. And so it's kind of fairly new out there, but certainly that mental well-being component is a big part of that.
Oh, gosh. When I think about touch therapy, I wanted to go a little bit deeper on that because I noticed that you shared with us that over 287,000 touches are reported by your touch therapy teams. Tell me a little bit more about touch therapy and what that includes.
Yeah, so that's that volunteer opportunity.
Yeah.
And so we encourage our volunteers to tell us how many people are you touching in a day. And so a touch really is an interaction. So it is that person and the dog interacting with an individual.
Yes.
Could be a child, could be. It's amazing how many people in administration, in nursing staff that we also interact with. But our volunteers record the number of touches. When they graduate from our program, they actually get a counter because we want them to keep track, of how many people they're interacting with. And so that way we can see not only the impact we're making, but how big is that? And so for us, Michelle, so from a technology perspective, and maybe you can appreciate this because we're all working on it in our line of work, is using technology to its fullest.
Yes.
And so for us, that 287,000 interactions is only 40% of our teams reporting touches.
My goodness.
So that's something that we work towards is, trying to encourage everyone, to do that. So they record number of hours that they volunteer and then where they volunteer.
Yeah.
And then they record, again, the interactions. So when we're reporting to our funders, what is the impact that you're doing? Where have you been? What are you doing? We can actually go to our technology and say, well, we were in 42 schools this year.
Yes.
This is how many students we interacted with. This is what the teacher said about it. And so having that information helps us try to be better so that when we go back and do it again, we can be more effective. And then how can we take what we learned there and apply it to other places? Like nursing homes. We go into nursing homes.
That's true. Yes. Okay, so you talked about nursing homes just now.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about schools. I want to talk more about schools.
Okay.
And then you talked about it being something that you can apply to nursing homes. But what does that look like? When we talk about touch therapy and dogs and teams working in schools, tell me more.
So there's a lot going on in schools when it comes to canine, because a lot of individuals will reach out to their administrator that they want to bring their emotional support dog to school. And emotional support dogs don't have public access. So they don't. And so the dogs that have public access are the ones that are approved by the ADA, that fall under the ADA standards, that they are helping an individual with a skill. So they're providing skills. And so the schools are experiencing all these requests, to bring their dog in because everybody loves, to have their dog.
Of course.
And so they've actually been coming to us because we have a program that's developed for schools. And so then they know that with those Duo Touch Therapy dogs, they've been through a lot of training. They're covered by our insurance. We've got a really solid program, around that. Same if they would acquire a full-time duo facility dog in the school, we're responsible, for that. So we maintain ownership of our dogs that do that work, and we want to make sure that the team is successful. So it makes it easier on the school. So you don't have to worry about what it means to have canine in your school.
Right.
We'll do that for you.
Okay.
And so I think that's been really meaningful. So reading programs, a lot of before finals week, a lot of anxiety, stress there.
Yeah.
Bullying in the school.
Oh, God.
Those stressful conversations when kids are feeling bad. So our counselors will tell us that they have, and they'll have the dog in there with them during this conversation to provide support. They're also telling us that the kids will talk to the dog before they'll talk to the person sometimes. And so maybe they share a little bit more. So it's really endless, Michelle. People from all ages, are benefiting from that. But the school one, we're getting a lot of requests for, I think right now we have 42 schools in our touch therapy program. And then we have 17 facility dogs that work in St. Louis. They're not all schools, but I think we have 7 facility dogs that work full-time in schools that are dogs that we've bred and raised and trained. And we've got requests for more of those too.
Well, I can certainly understand how this could apply to nursing homes, and the dogs, they could be certainly helpful to seniors. And I'm thinking about when I was in school, how, the emotional support could have been very good. So I am glad that you continue to, work to deepen those relationships with the schools and open the door wider to this being an opportunity for schools. So thanks for what you're doing.
Absolutely. And, something else that we keep top of mind is our mission, because we do get requests from time to time for one of our dogs that's not mission focused. It's, perhaps a little bit more entertainment focused it's not a bad thing. It's just not something that we do. So, our dogs are meant to have those therapeutic interventions with people to make a difference in that way. So,
yeah. And like I said, this is really unlocking understanding, because you're clearing up some misconceptions. You're sharing information that people don't often hear about. And so really appreciating everything that you're able to bring forward and clarify. So Dual Dogs has been a proud member, I hope, of United Way and our family for a very long time, and would love for you to maybe talk a bit about the partnership and some of the programs we are helping to support, and people that have gotten involved by way of United Way, and just everything about our relationship.
So I had an advantage going into Dual Dogs because I knew what the United Way was capable of. So I knew as a leader going in that, boy, I better take advantage of these programs that we have available to us. And so it's tremendous what the organization does for Duo Dogs. So first off, just through your campaign, of course, the fundraising that we benefit from being part of that campaign, the exposure that we get during that campaign. So we've gone on a lot of kickoffs and come back with new volunteers because they met us there. We've even had requests for maybe a new Duo Touch facility based on what people learned at one of the kickoff meetings. So helping us make those connections. We actually have a veteran client that came from one of those kickoffs. And so that's another thing. But then all of the other thought leadership that the United Way provides for me and other leaders in our organization on everything from communication plans to finance, budgeting, fundraising, all those things as a leader of a nonprofit that we need to know. And no matter how long you've done it, there's always something new to learn. And so having access to those programs through the United Way is really helpful to us too. So I can't say enough. I'm so proud that we get to be part of the safety net, and please do call on us. We're happy to help when we can.
And you all are always so great about coming out and being a part of any sort of kickoff or event that we host. And I love when you bring the dogs out.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
we have to.
Impact today.
This is
and
yours.
I appreciate. Okay, I take it. I am hugging. I am rubbing. Thank you for Impact.
You're welcome. He's falling over there.
Oh, gosh. Okay, Impact. Be good, Impact. So, I think about our partnership and ways that we've continued to deepen that. And I would say, some of that is to your credit. Like you said, when you left United Way, you had kind of the inside baseball around United Way, and you're able to maybe tap into some additional ways that we can be supportive or could partner closer because you had been a part of the team. And so I so appreciate that. And I want you to continue to reach out, and let's figure out how we can make more and more of an impact and reach more people through what we do together. You have talked a lot about volunteers, and I want to know, and I'm sure the people listening would love to know, how do you get involved as a volunteer, and what's the criteria, qualifications, and what does it look like?
There are several volunteer opportunities at Duo, but we do ask our volunteers be at least 18 years of age.
Okay.
Because, anytime you're working with live creatures, live dogs, and just we need adults to really from a volunteer perspective. But gosh, Michelle, everything from helping us raise a puppy. So these dogs that we breed, raise, and train here in St. Louis, those are raised by volunteers in their own home. So once they're 8 weeks old, they go into a volunteer's home and they stay there for a year and a half. You've got a dog in your house for a year and a half.
Yeah.
That, at the end of that year and a half, you're going to turn back over to Duo so we can finish. I know you're frowning. She's frowning already.
I need to turn it back over.
It's, and people do say that, but as long as they begin with the end in mind,
yes,
but there's still tears. I will tell you, there still are. So then we finish them up that last 6 months with advanced training. But here's the other thing that helps our volunteers turn them back over is that when we match a dog with a client, we have a graduation ceremony. So at that time, we bring in the new client and their family. We bring in the volunteer puppy raiser that helped raise that dog, the trainers that helped train that dog. And so everybody gets to celebrate the journey of creating a new assistance dog that's going to be out in the world. So that helps,
yes,
a little bit. So now that's a big volunteer opportunity. I mean, that's a big commitment. So some others that are not quite as big of a commitment as that one are volunteer puppy sitters. So volunteer puppy sitters give the raisers relief when they need it. So for example, let's say I'm a full-time volunteer puppy raiser and I'm going out of the country for 2 weeks. And I really don't want to take the dog with me. So a puppy sitter will say, hey, I'll help you for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And both roles are trained by Duo. So we can make sure that we keep up on the assistance dog training. So that's one. Gosh, and here's another one. You might like this, Michelle. So it's called Whelper Helper.
Okay.
I know. I didn't know what whelping was before I joined Duo. I had to learn fast. It's that whole puppy process.
Okay.
And so Whelper Helpers sit with the little puppies while they're on site.
That's me.
I know. I thought you might enjoy that. So it's a 3-hour shift, and there's 2 whelpers at a time. We'll sit with the puppies, and they interact with the puppies. There is some cleanup involved, I will say that, but it's so much fun. And then we have a puppy cam on the puppies too.
What? A puppy cam? Oh, that's the cutest.
People love it. Thousands of people tune in to the puppy cam, but it's interesting to see the level of care that those little guys are getting already.
Right.
So that's a volunteer opportunity. Okay. So, and then I talked about Duo Touch Therapy with your own dog, if you're interested in something like that. And then, of course, administrative opportunities. We're a small nonprofit, so there's lots of work to do.
Right.
So everything from landscaping to, stuffing envelopes.
It's a small but mighty team, though, under your leadership.
We're working on, we have 19 team members. But when I look at our working dogs out there, there's 90 of them. 90 of them. So I consider them team members too, because we still own them. We make sure they're successful. So add, 90 and 19 and there's our team.
Okay. This has been so helpful. I am filled with information. And I don't know about anyone else, but I will tell people that they can go to stlvolunteer.org because you are listing your volunteer opportunities out there. So stlvolunteer.org. And I just want to thank you for being here today. I think we'll wrap here. I can talk to you all day.
I know.
That's the problem with this, right? But if people want to learn more, they can go to our website, actually, at helpingpeople.org, and they can link to your site and read more about getting involved. But again, appreciate you being here today and coming back to say hi and staying connected over the years. And I've been watching you. I see you, and I see your leadership, and you continue to shine. Thank you for what you're doing for people and across our local community. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Michelle. You're an inspiration.
Oh,
you are.
Well, you inspire me as well.
There we go.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for listening and learning more about Duo Dogs, Inc. And ask that, again, you follow us on social or link to us in our podcast on YouTube or Facebook or anywhere you like to watch your favorite podcast. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you.